The first positive test of COVID-19 has hit the NHL. The Ottawa Senators confirming late last night that one of their players has tested positive for the virus. Let's bring in Hockey Central Insider Elliotte Friedman to help talk about this a little bit more. Elliotte, of course, when people see the team confirming that a player has tested positive, they're all asking, who's the player, who's the player, who's the player? Is there a reason the name hasn't become public just yet?
Yes, Faizal, there is a reason, and that is that the player decided that he did not want his name public, from what I understand. Now, I guess that if public health had decided they wanted to name the player, they could, but that obviously isn't happening at this point in time. If you take a look at how the reporting has worked in the NBA the last couple of weeks, Rudy Gobert was willing to have his name attached to his positive test, so the reporters were able to do it. And when the Brooklyn Nets initially reported that 4 of their players tested positive, they did not report any of the names, but then Kevin Durant was willing to tell a reporter that he was one of those particular individuals. So it comes down to the will of the person, and this particular player for the Senators has decided they did not want to do it.
There were some reports as well last night suggesting other Senators players were experiencing symptoms, although no confirmations on other tests coming back positive. Do we know if this is just isolated to one player right now?
Well, since we only have one positive test that we know of, I have to say yes. I mean, I think it's safe to say that other players would be concerned or would be wondering if they had it. I mean, Faizal, if you go back to the original announcement from the NHL that was pausing its season, it's very clear that the NHL was expecting positive cases. I don't know how anybody in society could think right now they're going to avoid some potential positive cases in their cluster. So the simple answer to your question is no, we don't know that it's more widespread, but I think the league is prepared for the possibility that there would be more than one positive test.
So with that said, Elliotte, is there a process in place to get other players and team members tested right now, or is it simply going to come by a case-by-case basis?
I think, Faisal, it's safe to say it's going to be a case-by-case basis. The league looks at is, are you symptomatic and determined to be needing of testing? If you take a look at a lot of what's happening in society right now, what we're learning is that a lot of people have it and don't know they have it. And I think that one thing the league made it very clear is it wanted players to self-quarantine or self-isolation wherever they went. And it sounds like this is going to be the plan. Right now they feel that basically the way to go is if you're symptomatic and feel you need a test or it's determined you need a test, that way you do it. If not, self-isolation.
It may be unsurprising that it's finally hit the NHL, but it's still shocking to see the headline, right? Like, what was the reaction across the league when this news came out last night?
Well, I think people were very surprised. I think people were, you know what, I think that's a great way that you just put it, is that we all knew that this was coming, but it was surprising to see it coming. And I think last week when you look at the NBA, the speed it happened with the Gobert news and then the league was suspended, how fast it was. And even though we heard 4 members of the Nets and we figured there were going to be more tests, whoa, it's Kevin Durant. That's a big deal. And now this is the first one in the NHL. It's a big deal. I think all of us, just as people, I think in North America, like the rest of the world in terms of, well, at least Asia, China in particular, Japan, South Korea, Europe, they've gotten used to or understand what this life is like right now. In North America, we're only beginning to figure it out. And now we're starting to be hit with the realization of what this is and what this means. And I think that surprised us, even though it just shows us we're not all the way there yet of understanding. We're still surprised a bit by the news.
And because of the fact that things are still developing, it seems like it'll be even longer before sports come back. Hardly a priority, which I told to someone who yelled at me today as I was making my short walk to work. When are sports coming back? Obviously, I don't have an answer, but when and if it does come back, at least as it pertains to the NHL, what proposals have they kind of been discussing about how to finish this season, how to bridge the gap between this and next season, or if they're even going to do that?
Well, Faisal, I think they're considering a lot of ideas. I think there's a lot of people who are proposing things, and I think they're willing to listen to just about anything. The one thing I think they'd really like is, could they have an 82-game season next year? And also, I think that's part 2. Part 1 is there a way that they can deliver the Stanley Cup this year? Now, the best advice I was kind of given about the next little while was, you know what, we're in this boat. until at least the end of April. We really won't know where we are until the end of April. We just have to, as much as this is going to be a struggle for a lot of people, including ourselves, in terms of what to do and worry about the future, we don't really have much of a choice. So I think what's going to happen, Faisal, is we're going to get to the end of April. We're going to see where we are. We're going to see if there's any optimism for where we're going to go, and we're going to consider some ideas. I do think that 2014 playoff is a possibility to get Montreal and Chicago in for their eyeballs, but we don't know until we know.
Beyond that, of course, sports, again, hardly the priority. Want to make sure you and your family are doing okay. Everything good at home?
Aside from the fact I just coughed, yes, I'm okay. My family's good, thank you. I'm worried this is going to end in divorce, Faisal, but other than that, everything's good. How are you doing?
I'm all good. I know we're trying to hold it down as much as possible, so we appreciate that. I hope your reports on the divorce are wrong, and two, for everyone concerned about his cough, it's because I talked to him quite a bit before we actually started this, so his mouth is a little dry. So don't.
Yes.
I know there would be some people looking at that and being like, "Oh my God, Elliotte!" But he is at home, which is where he should be right now, and if you don't have to go out, you should be as well. So Elliotte, we appreciate this. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, Faisal. Take care, bud.